Yeah, we always want to address what left, and we graduated some D linemen and linebackers, D-line linebackers on defense, and offensive linemen and wide receivers on offense. So that was really the key part of the recruiting class, and that's where the bulk of our numbers were made up of. So,
Gary?
Chip, I know it's sometimes hard to gauge with Rose Bowl national championship game. How much do you think that factors into this class in particular? And do a lot of players talk about, wow, you guys, what you've done lately?
yeah, I mean, obviously the wins at our back and not in our face when we go out on the road recruiting, but you don't. I mean, I don't know. It's just so different for each individual kid, and if you're better off interviewing the individual and what he chose us for. And some kids may have chose us because of our rise, in the last couple of years and where we're playing. Other kids chose because they bonded well with our players. They bonded well with the coaching staff. They like the environment. They're in-state kids. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, but it doesn't hurt.
AJ?
Coach, are there any athletes you're still in contention for that aren't on this list yet?
I can't talk about anybody else that's on unless you're on the list, brother. You know the rules, AJ.
Back to Rob. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
I was going to ask, second time through as a head coach, did you change anything in your organization of the recruiting and how it was executed? No,
we changed when I took over. We were a lot more thorough in terms of more eyes. It's not just the individual position coach recruiting a player, but we changed that 2 years ago. It's an entire staff, actually, and an entire group of people watching tape and making evaluations. We're a lot more thorough and detailed oriented in terms of asking other questions. Once you just make the film evaluation process, that's not even half of the puzzle. What type of person is he? How does he fit in? What does his guidance counselor say about him? What does his math teacher say about him? What does the janitor say about him? Trying to find out everything we can from a background standpoint and in making sure that the people we bring here are what we want to represent this university.
Rob?
Speaking of the linemen, do you have guys identified for specific positions? Specifically, is there a center maybe among the O-linemen? Is there tackles versus ends on the defensive line?
No, and I've always been, you get them here and you're like, what kid's not what I thought, or this kid's a lot better than I thought. And, we want to get them here and try them out. And then when that process of going through the beginning of where we feel they fit the best, because, you signed them on February, and then you're going to see some different bodies rolling him when they're rolling here in June, and you're like, wow, he's a little bit bigger than I thought, or you really don't know. But we try to even it out, especially when they're younger players, so that you kind of got one guy at each position, because you don't want to have 5 centers and then you only have 2 guards in a line. So we try to spread that out as much as even as we can, and then it works itself out from there. But we won't know a lot about that until we go through spring practice ourselves, and some of those holes are filled by some other kids.
When you say spread out, once they get here?
Once they get here, yeah. So we haven't specifically targeted he's a this, he's a that. I'm really impressed with the athleticism of all the O-line prospects we have, and but obviously we don't want to line them all up at tackle, and then we're short at guard. So we need to kind of spread it out. But ideally, in the real world, from an athletic standpoint, I would like 5 left tackles for us. The size to play left tackle, the athletic ability to play left tackle, and then we spread them across the board, and then one of them moves to right tackle, one moves to right guard, one of them moves to left guard, one of them moves to center. Max Unger was a prototypical player. He played left tackle to start here, and then we moved him into center when Fanucchi emerge. So that's the type of athleticism, and I think we've got a good group of athletic offensive linemen, but we'll put them in a position where they all can get on the field.
Steve?
Offensively, seems like wide receiver might be an emphasis with this class. How much was that the case?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, we lost 2 kids last summer that left the program, and then we graduated 2 kids, so we needed to get 4 receivers. Just, we have a set number of positions that we have and how many scholarships per position, and we needed to get 4 receivers in here, and I think an opportunity for some kids to come in early and play, because we got to take care of Jeff Mails graduated, Drew Davis has graduated, LT 2A is our only senior, and then we really got some unproven guys behind that. Josh Hoff has played a lot, Justin Hoffman has played a lot, but that's it. So I think the opportunity to play early at the receiver spot was attractive to some of these guys.
Tom?
Chip, Trey, Carson, talk about him a little bit. How big was it that Michael was already here, and do you feel like you have a little bit of a pipeline going out there?
Yeah, I don't know about a pipeline, but I think really impressed with Trey as a person. And then, kind of he's a bigger back, which I think we needed to kind of offset. We have some smaller backs at that position right now, but he's a really, really good athlete. And I think the impressive thing when you look at it is he broke LaMichael's records at that school. And that's kind of a interesting thing to look at. And I know his senior year he had 1 game where he ran for 394 yards in 1 game. So, but when then you watch him play basketball, he's an athletic for a kid who's 6'1", 220 pounds. He can crossover dribble and dunk in traffic, and I've watched him do that. So I think he's a different type of back than we've had here in the last couple of years.
Will Michael help out, though, with a little bit of it?
Yeah, I'm sure that he's aware of who LaMichael James is.
AJ.
Coach, 5 offensive linemen is a large group for any class. What were the factors that led to bringing in such a large class of offensive linemen this year?
We had 5 leave. You leave, you leave. We lost Max 4, Jordan Holmes, both ran, C.E. Kaiser, and we were 1 down. So we're really replacing what goes out. And it's just, you got to really kind of look at it where you are. And I think people may forget about Max leaving, but Max was a scholarship player for us, and he's gone. So.
Cole.
How many of you guys do you think will be coming this spring?
To spring ball? The only kid I know of, they all haven't. There's a couple kids shooting for it. It'll be a small number, but they all have to finish up schooling, so I can't comment on that exactly until they're all done.
Rob.
I think a couple of the kickers got pressed into action, but otherwise you only played a couple of true freshmen last year. Do you figure that will be fairly standard for you as a head coach? I guess in a roundabout way, I'm trying to ask you if any you can figure any of these.
No, the future is now for us, and if someone can contribute and play, Josh Huff is a prime example. We had a senior-laden group at receiver, but Josh Huff found a way to get on the field with those guys. So we don't put any parameters of let's try to redshirt this and not. The only thing I'm not going to do is play kids just in garbage time. That's not beneficial to anybody. And then when they turn back at the end of their career, it was like, I played 19 snaps as a freshman and it cost me a season. But, we'll make a decision if they're going to play, and if they're going to play, they're going to play like Ricky did and Josh did. But it doesn't matter to me if you're a freshman or sophomore, junior, senior. If you have the ability to play right now and contribute and help us win, then you're going to play. And we really, truly don't know that until they get here. And you kind of look at some kid and go, that's the guy. And then he gets here and you're like, eh. And then there's some other guys you don't even talk about. And then he shows up and starts blowing it out. I think Jeff Mail was a kid like that. He was a one scholarship offer kid that came in and was making an impact early as a special teams player and a defensive player, and was good enough for us to transition him his true freshman year and playing receiver, and started at the end of the year for us. So,
Jerry.
Yeah, Coach, I guess I'm probably not the only one. It feels like it's a Christmas party, open up the presents. I'd kind of like to hear about every player. Are we going to get to that later, or can you go by every one by one and talk about the players?
How much time do we got? I mean, I got other things to do today, so. Devon Blackman can run, flat-out speed burner, great hurdler. Really excited about his prospects coming in at receiver. Add some size to that position. Trey Carson, I talked about earlier, is a big running back that will add to our depth there in terms of what we got to offer. He's a really, really good athlete. Raheem Cassell is a linebacker that is a physical football player, can really, really run. Probably be a will linebacker for us, could be a Sam, we're not sure. Tyson Coleman's a local kid that's going to play linebacker for us from Lake Oswego. Had a great career in the state. Another speed kid that really brings some more speed to us on the defensive side of the ball. Ifo is a football player. He could play a lot of positions for us. We recruited him as a defensive back. I don't think he's a safety. I think that's a misprint. He may end up playing corner for us. He's athletic enough to play receiver. He's one of the first kids I saw on tape that it was about 5 plays and turn it off. He can play something for us. James Usher could block out the sun. Just a gigantic human being out of Aloha High School. He's 6'7", all of it, and he's 275 pounds, and he looks like he's 220. He's got a huge frame, size 17 shoe, is a developmental kid that I think's got a real bright future. Jake Fisher is another huge prospect that we recruited out of Michigan, had originally committed to Michigan and changed his mind when Coach Rodriguez was let go. And Wood did a great job recruiting him. I think Jake is another kid, and you'll see him on his highlight tape playing tight end. I mean, he's that athletic type of kid. Christian French, maybe the most athletic kid in the group. That speed's not a misprint. He can flat out run. He played in the All-American game and is a great basketball player. He's a punt returner on his high school football team, and you'll see him on his highlight tape do that. Carlisle Garrick is a kid from the Bay Area that I think is really intriguing. He ran 21.9 as a freshman in the 200 meters, and then he's coming off an ACL. So there's not a lot of tape on him, but I know Nick has got a great inroads in the Bay Area. We watched some earlier tape on him. He's a physical player. He'll project as a linebacker for us, and I think he's a real sleeper. Rodney Hardvick is a kid out of Colton High School, same high school as Derek Malone and Alejandro Maldonado came in last year, is another kid that I think would have had a lot more offers. People came flying at him late. Played a great senior year, but it tore his ACL his junior year. And I think people were waiting to see what he did and had an unbelievable, his highlight tape is really amazing. And I think with his size, he'll have a chance to contend early because he is 225 pounds right now. Tyler Johnstone is another big offensive lineman. He played in the All-American game out of Chandler High School in Arizona. He's 6'6". He's 250 pounds, athletic, can move, is what we want in the O-line. Koa Kai, defensive lineman out of Honolulu, is a very athletic, physical football player. He's got a frame where he's going to grow, can run. Real good student. Really excited about him. Sam Camp is the brother of Harper Camp, who's the power forward for the University of Cal basketball team. You know, great bloodlines, great family. Sam may be 6'5" now. I watched him play hoop about 3 weeks ago. He can run up and down the basketball court, but you can tell when he plays basketball that he's a football player. He uses 5 fouls very quickly when he plays, which is a good thing. Sam's going to be a real active football player. I think people like him. B.J. Kelly is another speed burner at the wide receiver position, can go. I think he's run 14.1 in the highs. Devon Blackman, going back to him, he's run 13.7 in the high hurdles. Legitimate track guys. B.J. will really have a chance to contribute early at the wide receiver position because of our depth there. Colt Lyera is arguably the best athlete in the country. Can play a lot of different spots. He's all of that. He's 230-something pounds right now. Can run, can jump. He's played every position up at Hillsborough. We'll try to figure out where the best position for him is going to be. Marcus Mariota, we had in camp here. Really liked him. Didn't play a whole heck of a lot his junior year. Was a player of the year coming out his senior year. Had a tremendous senior season, but we felt like that was going to be the case after having him in camp. He can run. He's the perfect fit for what we do offensively. Jamal Prater is an offensive lineman out of Etiwanda. Another big, rangy kid. Good size to him, you know, that will really add depth to this class, and I think will contend. Takoi Sumler may be the fastest. I think at the Nike camps ran the fastest time in the country for his position. For any position, I mean, a speed burner that I think will contend for playing time. He's another kid that I think is a track kid for us. Anthony Wallace is a true middle linebacker out of Dallas. Physical, hard-nosed football player. Had a great Under Armour game. Excited about his prospect. Andre Irut-Retgayonia. Andre White, to everybody else, is another big physical lineman, a nasty kid on tape, and he jumps off the tape when you look at him. And then the 2 JC kids, Jared Ebert out of Iowa, is a ready-made product. He's 6'5", he's 285, very athletic. He'll get a chance to play early, and Rasan Vaughn out of San Mateo was arguably the best junior college wideout in the country. So,
Chris.
Coach, defensive line was, at least going in, a lot of people thought that was a big focus. Are you happy with what you guys addressed on?
Yeah, I'm really happy. You know, I think we did a great job of how we improved our athleticism. We got tall guys, which we want on the defensive line. We're really recruiting kids that are fit in the mold of what we're looking for on the defensive line. I think it's a great group, and they're all, you know, the one thing about these kids, the more you get to know them and the longer you're in the process, is that, you know, I think great players win games, but I think great people win championship, and that's what impresses me is the intangibles about this group that's coming in here, and they're all great kids, and really it's interesting when you get a chance to spend time with their families. You can tell why they're great kids. They come from really good parents, and it's a unique situation, but we're really excited about the entire group.
AJ?
Coach, can you expand a little bit upon Marcus Mariota and what you saw from him in camp and how his skill set fits with your offense?
He's a great athlete, first and foremost, AJ. He can run. I mean, you watch him on tape, he can really run. That speed's not a lie. I believe that. You know, some kids say that, but they're not. You can see that on tape, but I really like the way he threw the ball. He's just a little inexperienced. There was a really good quarterback at St. Louis a year ago, so we split some time with him, so there wasn't as much tape on him. But when we watched him on tape, I loved him on tape, and it was just a matter of getting a chance to see him here in person. And when we saw him in person, you know, he was exactly what I thought he was. I think he would have had a lot more offers. And then he really started to blow up his senior year, but he was already committed to us. So.
Ken?
Can you expand a little bit on Mariota? You mentioned he can play a lot of places. What are some of the ways you're considering using him heading into